Hey guys, it's Allison with Vale Roots Farm. Welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, welcome. This is a little bit different than if you've seen any of my other videos. No, I'm not in the garden, and no, my daughter is not with me because my husband's parents are in town, and we are so lucky that they visit about once a month, and they are hanging out with our little one downstairs. And so I actually have time to talk for more than 2 minutes without having to pivot, which again, it is the season of life, and older parents have thankfully taught me that lesson, that accepting the season of life and what we can get done and not get done is a part of it. But today I wanted to talk about a topic that honestly, I've seen this word or this phrase pop up a ton in the last year, and I'm assuming that's because the algorithm in Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and what have you has found out, that I am indeed a parent. I am a parent to a toddler, and so it's feeding me parent content, as I'm sure if you are a parent, or really if you are a human who's on some sort of social media where there's an algorithm, then you are probably getting fed content that corresponds to who you are, right? The things that relate to you in your life. So even if you're not a parent, you get what I mean. So what I mean by this is the phrase, where's the village? Be the village. We are missing the village. You get what I'm saying, right? Just this idea of, hey, where is the support group that I was promised? Now, this can be applied obviously to situations that don't include parenthood, but because that's the season I'm in, that is what I'm going to be talking about. I don't mean to negate anyone else's experiences here. I certainly am someone who's like, I became a parent. I got pregnant at 34, had her at 35. I'll be 36 this year. Yes. So I've lived most of my life child-free, up until very recently. Sorry, one of my kitties is locked in the bedroom with me. So I understand, but this conversation from my personal point of view is just going to be coming from, that postpartum, especially, it's a very tender topic that I feel like I just would talk. I could honestly film 100 videos, if not more, on the postpartum experience and the journey that honestly we all take as parents, the fertility discussion and the fertility journey, and then pregnancy and all of its things. And then, sorry, my cat jumped on the bed where my phone is. Right, fertility, and then pregnancy, and then labor, and then birth, and then the fourth trimester, aka early postpartum, and then postpartum, which was really forever. It's literally forever. And then you have a baby, and then you newborn, and then a baby, and then a toddler, and then so on. And again, my girl is only 17 months. I barely know anything, but who I am now versus who I was, but even when I was pregnant, is completely different. And if you're a parent, you understand that. And now I am coming from a perspective where we chose to move to a smaller town, a more peaceful town, a more adventure-oriented town, to not be near family, because where both of our families were not places that we felt resonated with who we were as people. And I hate to say that. I know a lot of people will disagree with me on that, and you are most welcome to. But we both, that's just the reality of who we are. My husband and I very much know each other. We've become amazing people together. We've been through so much together, more than I ever imagined that I could go through and still be alive. But we are. And we are so happy where we are, and we are thriving where we are as people because of what we chose. That being said, we do not live near family, and a lot of our friends also have little ones, and so their lives are very busy as well. And so, basically I say all that as an explanation as we don't have a huge support system. That's where I'm getting in with this video. So the topic that's come up, where is this village I was promised in relation to parenthood, especially early parenthood, I just see everywhere, as I'm sure you do too, if the algorithm is feeding you this content, if you are fresh postpartum. Now, just a little tidbit about me. If you've never seen any of my videos or heard me talk about or talked with me about our journey, I'll just give you like a 1-minute overview. I'll try not, I'm a big talker, so I'll try to condense it, okay? But I never, previous life, I never wanted kids. I never wanted to be married. No way. I've talked to plenty of friends, plenty of millennial friends who felt the same way. Now I'm happily married. My husband is the most amazing man I could ever hope to be partnered with in this life. We are each other's best friend. We are that couple who can't spend a second apart. We want to do everything together. I put so much into what I can do to make our life better, and he does the same. We are always partners. We are each other's teammates, and we always our fights are just, I just say that to be like, we've been through a lot. We went sober together. We quit cigarettes together. We got new jobs together. We've done a lot of change together. But I say all that, it's like, I never wanted kids. I wanted to be the boss babe. And then suddenly, dating him, feeling like I could be safe, feeling like I could see myself with this person for the first time ever after dating so many people, so many people for so long, realizing I could be with this person and trust him and believe him when he said that he would want to be with me forever. I was like, wow, okay, I do want to have kids. And we started talking about it when I was in my early 30s. And we couldn't get pregnant where we were in the busy city. And literally the month we decided to move, after job loss, after a bunch of crazy stuff happened, we got pregnant the month we moved here. My body finally calmed down, which is a huge piece of advice I have too. If you're on the fertility journey and you're struggling, definitely assess your stress levels and be honest with yourself about what that stress is doing to you. Love you. But had a wonderful pregnancy. It was great. I had no morning sickness. It was, I stayed really, really active. It was awesome. Up until the late 3rd trimester, everything gets uncomfortable, but that's pretty normal, I think, for most people. But what came, basically I wanted to do a home birth. My whole life, if I ever thought about birth, of course I'd want a home birth. I grew up in hospitals, and so I really, I gravitated more towards, I'm an only child. I like my me time. I'm that kind of person. Like, I just knew that I would be more comfortable in a home setting. Again, no judgment if you would prefer a hospital. It's just my vibe. But it didn't go that way. I labored, long story short, I labored for 3 days on 0 sleep. I still can't believe I did that. And it ended in us finally transferring because there were some issues going on, which we didn't figure out until we got to the hospital with my daughter, and had an emergency cesarean after 3.5 days of labor, again, on no sleep. And we tried everything, but it wasn't in the cards. And so that was this huge experience that I had that really broke me for a long time. And I didn't realize that it was the best lesson I could have learned. And that ties into what I'm getting ready to say, right, about the village and be the village and where's this village, right? I feel, and I've seen some moms talk about this on YouTube, that I love that the algorithm has actually given me that content, is it talks about the importance of addressing this transformation from maiden to matriarch, and how this process, I don't know how to pronounce it. I've heard it pronounced so many different ways, but it's like matrescence. It's M-A-T-R-E-S-C-E-E or S-C-E-N-C-E. I'm sure you've seen it. I'll maybe write it on the screen if I have time. But it's the process of you transforming. And, you go through that transformation, and, your life becomes, this is how I'm tying everything in, I promise. Sorry, I love babbling. I'm a big talker. I'm one of those people that if a neighbor sees us, I'm just like, oh no, I hope they don't mind talking for an hour. I just love talking to people. And anyway, so through that process, especially if you haven't cared for little kids before, or you haven't been a caregiver before, or maybe you didn't have a lot of siblings that you had to care for if you were the oldest. I just didn't. I never really had to be in a caregiver role too much for those that were younger than me, right? And so you get ushered in through this crazy experience, labor and birth. It doesn't matter if you have an awesome birth either. It's crazy. Like, it is crazy. And so you go through all this experience, and then you are suddenly thrust into this new role, of nurturing, and everything that you have, all your energy, and you're sleep deprived, and you're recovering, and you're trying to learn how to do life. And I'm talking specifically, especially your first child. By your second one, like, even if the kid's, obviously the kid's a completely different person, the second kid, but you sort of have an idea of what you're doing. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, okay. But your first one, like, the shock of like, oh my gosh, my whole life has just been transformed. No one really like talks to you about. And for me, it's taken a while to like, one, get out of the blur of sleep deprivation, because my daughter nursed every half hour to hour for 11 months. And I still don't know how I'm here, like, in one piece and mentally stable. Like, I have no idea, but I did it. And there's thousands, if not millions, of moms doing that, and parents, parental figures in general, not just moms. But that ties all in, because through that transformation, right, you realize how much, and again, I'm just saying this was my specific experience. I'm not saying this is everyone's experience, but if you relate, let me know. I just didn't realize how selfish I was until I had my daughter. And that is why I entitled this video, what I did. It's just like, are you being the villager? Or are you just wanting to take? Because obviously there is a certain phase in our lives where maybe you can't, and that's okay. If you have, medical issues that you are dealing with, if you are a caregiver yourself, if you are so strapped thin because you're working 3 jobs and you're a caregiver, and you're on disability. I mean, there's just so many factors, and no judgment to any of those. But I'm saying in a situation such as mine, where that transformation from maiden to matriarch was so shocking, and it was so rough for me to be like, oh my gosh, like, what about me? Like, what about me? And yes, there's plenty of people talking about like how important that maternal health is, and you need time for yourself and what have you. But the thing is, it's like, and I'm just talking, again, from my experience. I feel like I have to have all these caveats because I know someone is going to be upset by something I'm saying, and I apologize for that. I can only speak from my experience because I've only lived my experience. But, I didn't get pregnant at 19. I've lived so much life, and I have figured out a bunch of who I am as a person, and what I identify with, my hobbies, what I love to work on, like all these things, right? And now all of that is completely, put on the back burner for now, because I don't have time to do anything but care for my child. Now that she's walking and starting to talk and doing all these things, it's getting a little bit easier. I personally have said this to my mother-in-law because she totally agrees with me, but we both were like, wow, yeah, we're totally not baby people. And like, obviously I love my daughter and I want a few more babies for sure. But I'm a very active person, and I baby wore all the time. Like, it didn't stop me, having her. Like, we walks every day, multiple times. But the toddler stage is just so much fun for me. And if you agree, heck yeah, like it's so much fun. And also, recovering from a traumatic birth pretty much took me a full year mentally. Like, the shock never wore off. And then finally now I'm like, okay, like there's a light and it's spring and it's like, woohoo, but I'm finally coming out of that. And I don't feel shame anymore for saying that, because when you're so sleep deprived and all you can do is just like eat in like 10-second increments and then care for your child, that it is what it is. But anyway, I say all that because my daughter has made me realize through her entire existence, right, less than 2 years, that like, have I been the villager my whole life? And I don't think I have. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I have. I don't think I have been. I look back and it's just like all my years of just, And again, when you're younger, it's a little easier to just like focus on what you need and like where you want to go and your career and school and what have you. Like, but I think back to myself and I'm like, wow, like I'm so thankful for my daughter for teaching me this lesson that I desperately needed, even in her birth, right? Even through the birth trauma, because I had this perfect, like peaceful home birth plan and it was going to go according to plan. And everyone told me it was going to go the way, it was just like da 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 da. And then it didn't. It went the most drastic way that you could go, far away from my dream, And it was so shocking. And it was only until months and months later that I realized, like, wow, this taught me the greatest lesson. It taught me I am not in control. I'm not in control of any of this. I'm not at all. And I'm certainly not in control of who my daughter is, who she wants to be, who she's becoming. I am simply along for the ride and here to guide her as best as I can. But without that experience, I think that I still would be thinking I'm somehow in control, that I still would be thinking, oh, I'm not, oh, I'm a good person, And that's not to say I wasn't good before, but I was just living for myself. And again, caveat, like we're the only people living in our experience, of course. But I think back, I'm like, okay, the few friends that I did know who got pregnant and had kids, because most of my friends growing up, like didn't have kids. I had a few coworkers who did, my boss did, and what have you. But I never once asked like, hey, do you want me to watch your kids for you so you can like take a shower? Or, hey, let me watch your kids for you so you can have a date night with your husband. And I think back and I'm like, oh my gosh, because that's all I want now, like having those friends. And I have mom friends. Like I said, I have a lot of mom friends that I am making and they're all amazing people, but we all have similar like little ones or big kids too. So you're like running around to do this thing and school and summer camp and all this stuff, right? Everyone's so busy. And thank goodness, like our small town, like everyone's kind of close together. But again, I'm kind of just ranting at this point, but I think it's a really important topic to talk about is like, okay, are we being the villager? Like, when we have like some leftovers, like, do we run it next door? Like, do we know our neighbor's name? When we have a little excess of something else, like, do we see if our neighbor or even our roommate wants some, or even our coworker, like, do we bring, if we made, a dozen cookies and like, well, do we really want to eat all those cookies we made this weekend, when we were drunk, or can we like give the rest to our coworkers when we come in? I think, again, it's like, are we showing up for people how we want people to show up for us? And I think back to my pre-kid life and I did not. I am not ashamed to admit it. I certainly was not a horrid person by any means, but I don't know. There is something about, like I said, the maiden to matriarch and that parental journey of just like understanding, one, what every person who gets to this earth goes through. Like when you go through labor and birth and then you go and walk into a grocery store and you see people for like the first time after that experience and you're like, every single one of these people was birthed by what? Mind blown, and you're like, oh, this is nuts. Because it is. It's freaking crazy. And it's amazing, but it's crazy. And anyway, so I just wanted to say that today because I think it needs to be talked about more and needs to be like, we need to be okay talking about this. It's like, none of us are perfect. None of us actually really know what's going on. We're just trying to live our life the best to our ability. And I truly believe that 99.9% repeating people are trying to do their best, even if you disagree with people on this and that and what have you. Like, I truly believe that the majority of people are really trying to do their best. And if you agree with me on that, thank you. And if you don't, that's okay too. I was bullied. I feel ya, like I could go into many rants on why I want to be more jaded about the world. But the fact is like, I don't want my daughter to be that way. And I gotta believe in the goodness, I do, regardless of everything that's happening. But Anyway, okay, this is going on almost 20 minutes now, and I'm gonna go check on my little girl. But thank you guys for listening if you've gotten this far. And if you do agree, or if you have any tips, I actually just thought of this. If you have any tips or things that you have done to help cultivate relationships, maybe even with people that you just met, but that's helped you, realistic things that you have done, simple things too, that you have helped, maybe that don't cost money or just like a small gesture. Maybe it costs you a few seconds. Like, again, like, you made some extra cookies. See if your neighbor wants some, Maybe they haven't had family or friends visit them in 2 years, you just don't know. It's like, are we being the villager that we want in our lives? And that's all I got. That's all I got. And that's something that I'm going to ruminate on hopefully my whole life and get better at, and thank goodness my daughter came about and taught me that lesson, because, I don't want to be a selfish person. I don't want people to think that way of me whenever I have this last day on earth, whenever that is. Might be tomorrow, might be in 72 years. But anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for listening. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say in the comments. And thank you also to the new followers from that broccoli video. It was so cool to see some new faces here. I know this isn't about gardening, but it's real life, and it's something that's always on my mind. Motherhood and parenthood is always on my mind because that's my role right now. That's my primary role. So anyway, thank you guys for being here, and I hope you have a wonderful day or evening wherever you are, however you are. Bye.